Hey, how's it going, guys? Modern Girl Gaming here, back at you again, here with the video on the currency progression paths you have available to you as an early game player going into the middle and later stages of the game. If you're in the trade league for Path of Exile 2, just really quick, thank you guys so much for the clicks on the first video. I was not expecting all that. I want to really make an effort to put more quality into these videos, make them a little more streamlined, and just communicate my ideas a little better to you guys in a more deliberate fashion, or however you want to say it. But thank you guys so much. I hope you'll keep watching. Going straight into it, I really want to talk about your starting point, which is at the end game when you have one exalt gear for your whole body. And at this point you have either two paths to take, the way I see it. You either have magic find or you don't have magic find. Either you got lucky and you found it, or you didn't. So just from this distinction, don't think that magic find is the end all be all. Actually, it is not. There are a lot of very reliable ways to get a lot of currency without magic find, just to get that out the way quick. But I did want to separate this because I feel like this is where you might find yourself at the beginning. More than likely you won't have magic find, but in case you do and you have a build that facilitates smashing breach, the first point I have here on my flow chart for the magic find is you want to be smashing breach and stacking rarity waystones with quantity waystones, quantity of items found waystones, and if you can, monster pack size as well. You want to be speccing your atlas tree to have your elites have more modifiers in them, as well as having really good waystone sustain, so that way you're never running out of 15s, which, you know, just the higher level breach you have, the better off you'll be in terms of density. But yeah, high density, high quality. And also consider delirium. You want to be running delirium, the greed prefix specifically, or I'm not sure if it's a prefix, the essence, forgive me, because it gives you rarity. But there's also another one which gives you density as well. So yeah, if you can smash breach, you should be smashing breach early on because it's the easiest thing to do. Very low entry point, and if you even want to get started with some of the relics, you know, as soon as you get the ball rolling on a couple breaches, you get some stones. It's very easy to buy the breach stone and get started into your tree and get like the progression going, you know. So the flow of breach feels very good, especially if you're like an invoker or a storm weaver, storm whatever the spec's called. You know, if you can clear your screen with a couple clicks, yeah, smash breach. Okay. If you can't smash breach like me, I'm actually an infernalist running a boomer arsonist build with CI, so my breach clear is not the best. Try Sekimus, because the magic finder you got passively applies really well to the elites in there, in the hourglass trial and in the chalice trial. So if you have the build capability with your EX gear and your build is spec'd for like survivability, or maybe for whatever reason you're running armor does really well in the second trial, you can farm the elites in these. Even in the first and second ascendancy trials, they're very easy to farm, so I really recommend you do that. Also, you have the potential to have relics drop. I believe it is the urns and the longer ones, the 3-piece ones, the 3 vertical squares, excuse me, that and the scrolls that have the potential to have merchant discounts and additional merchant items, and that'll really help you out. They'll sell for a lot because people farm them to get more relics, and they sell them. And the jewels as well, the jewels you get at the very end past the final boss of the 4th ascendancy, those jewels sell very well. You want to be looking out for specific coffers. Magic find, if you can't smash breach, juice your maps, juice your towers. Quantity, quality, delirious. Of course, everyone's already doing that. That's why delirious is so cheap, or forgive me, breach is so cheap to get into. If you can't, consider Sekimus. You know, Sekimus has very good output for item finder as well, and it's very consistent. You can very consistently get really good drops because you can consistently get really good mobs. Okay, so you don't have magic finder. This is where you have a bit of an impasse, and I feel like most people are going to find themselves here because the best farm in the game right now, I think, is ritual. But the problem with ritual is that the waystones are crazy expensive. I think it's like 6 divines to get 1 stone right now, maybe 7 by tomorrow, and it's very, very slow to get into if you're just trying to raw dog it, unless you get pretty lucky. So if you're feeling lucky, just jump into rituals whenever you can. Be searching for that waystone, reroll. Do high density waystones. You want to be doing high density, and you want to be killing the monsters when they're on the actual thing. Forgive me, the sigil. Before you start the ritual, because that will respawn them into your ritual, and you will get more of the ritual currency, which you could use to defer your audience with the king, which is the main item you're looking for, of course. And while you're in there, ritual can test your ability to dig through prefixes, or forgive me, to dig through bases and know your stuff. So ritual is really good for crate diggers, you know, because you can like do all the loot and like look for things that you're looking for, or things that could potentially sell very well on the market. But I didn't put like, you know, thrifting as a end game build path, because generally if you know what to look for in the game, like if you have that knowledge, you're just going to be making more money anyway. I really wanted to highlight paths that I think you could start to focus on right away, because all these systems, I think it's Kriparian even said in an earlier video, like they require you to really commit yourself, and ritual is the prime example of that. So if you're willing to put in the time to get a ritual stone with no bonuses on your tree, and you commit and you invest the time, it really does pay off quick. Like you get 2 ritual stones, like you get 1 and then you buy 1, or you just have to farm 2 if you're at this point in the game, of course. Like your output will start becoming insane after that. Like it really is a night and day difference, especially if you gotta get clear speed. If you have a good defensive build, ritual requires you to stay in a high density area for a good period of time, with mobs that get progressively harder. Honestly, like the first ritual is a joke, and the last one can kill you pretty easily if it's a high tier map and you have bad prefixes on it. But yeah, ritual, I cannot stress enough how good of an investment it is. It's miserable. It's miserable to start off. And let me tell you, I did a ritual for my second one, the one that fucking mattered. Okay, and I failed the puzzle my second time doing it. I didn't fail the first time, but I did it the second time, and God, that hurts so bad. I literally threw 7 divines in the trash. That's how it felt. I felt like I just wasted like the last 3 hours of my life. But thankfully, I had a good amount of currency, so I just bought another one. I was mad, so I just bought another one. And as soon as I bought it and I got that second tier on the tree, those 4 points, I found another one immediately, like as soon as I bought it, and it felt so good. And I found like 2 more since then, and it's just been rolling, you know. So I'm gushing over ritual. I'm gonna stop talking about it, but yes, if you're able to invest in it, please do. I think ritual is great. The waystones are overpriced as well. If you expect for the ritual waystone drops to be occurring more frequently, then those sell for like 10 to 15, sometimes 20 if the market's being ridiculous. But yeah, that's just free money. It's like, you know, 10 exiles every time you get a drop. Pretty good. If you're not feeling lucky, Chaos Trial is actually a very good way to get currency consistently. And I say consistently because I think it's more consistent than the Sekimus. The Sekimus can be brutal, and it can be very unfair, especially in the later stages with some of the curses. Like sometimes you're just running into a room and you don't know which room you're taking, or you don't know which curse you're taking, and the curse is like, now you have no energy shield and you're running CI. You know, like sometimes that just happens like every couple runs, you know. But and even with really good map knowledge, like you could just get fucked, you know. If it wasn't for Blink going through walls, like Seki would suck a lot more, I think. But I digress. I think Chaos Trials are a lot more consistent But some builds, as I mentioned with Sekimus, are better spec for Chaos Trials than others. With Chaos Inoculation, a lot of the debuffs that you pick between rooms are just nulled. Like sometimes enemies do extra chaos damage with them. Boom, you pick that twice. That's two free ones. Enemies do poison and bleed, just completely negated as well by chaos inoculation. You know, it's a bit ridiculous, honestly. So running chaos trials will drop the soul cores, and the soul cores can be worth anywhere from 1 to, I believe, a couple to 2 to 3 divines for the very pinnacle soul core, the rarity soul core, Azkapa, I believe it's called. But yes, the soul cores are worth a lot, and you get them consistently without item finder. It's just a matter of how many rooms you complete and how fast you can get through the trial to try to get them through the room rewards. And also the final boss drops a shield that's worth a good amount, about a divine, I believe it's selling for right now. And those Azkapas actually go on that shield for item finder freaks. I was running that shield for a while. You'll see in my last video if you watched it. I actually sold it for pretty cheap. But yes, and also the trial pieces to get to the trial master sell pretty well. They sell for like about 10 to 20 exalts, and you get that guaranteed at the end of the run. So at the end of the run, no matter what, you're getting like 10 exalts. You're probably going to get a couple exalts on the floor, even with no item finder. You know, the soul cores, you're going to get a couple exalts from there. So this is a very, very consistent starting point, and it's very easy to get into. The pieces sell for about like 1 exalt. So like if you're capable of smashing these just back to back, it's a lot faster than Seki as well. Like this is an amazing starting point, I think, for players with this gear. And you get your ascendancies along the way as well. Like it's just, you know, it's really good, really consistent. But yeah, if you're not spec'd for it, like it could get really bad, but in my experience it's more consistent. So this actually kind of flows, I was thinking today, like this way. So if you're really not feeling lucky, you're just looking for a really consistent exalt farm, do the chaos trials, because doing the trial master, doing the rooms, you're gonna get a lot of exalts guaranteed, and then you're gonna ramp up. Now you have a couple divvies, right? With your first couple set of divvies, you can ask yourself, like, damn, do I want to do this and then buy the ritual keystone that way and then just start doing this, you know? Or maybe I want to get some item finder and I could do the consistent item finder strat of smashing breach, you know? And then you can, and forgive me, a lot of people find breach more fun than chaos trials. I do, you know. If I wish I was these invoker monks, you know, running around. I should make one. If you want to do this and then move into item finder, you don't want to go into ritual, which is totally fine, because ritual, again, it feels really miserable at first and it's very high investment to get into. And with the 7 divines that it takes, you could go from a 1EX character to a full div character, you know what I mean? So that might be more worth it. So, you know, you go from here, you get some div gear, and then you decide you want to do this. Nope. All right, well, maybe it's time to start investing in some magic finder. You know, you get some magic find, and then you do breaches. You can't do breaches, well, then it's time to do Sekimus instead of chaos. A nice breath of fresh air. Honestly, now Sekimus too, with that money you can buy resist relics if you don't have them already, and you could start hitting these, just getting divines on the floor, and you know, you have multiple income sources from there. But this is very, very optional, honestly. Like I said, Sekimus is not for everybody. Like Sekimus is rough, in my opinion, and especially compared to chaos. I think chaos, in my experience, is just infinitely better. But again, I'm spec for a build that I'm spec for a build that runs chaos very easily. Yeah, that was everything I had to say. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you're watching for making it this far. If you have, please like, subscribe. I plan to make more of this content, trying to help out people and maybe explain things in a more simple way, like from a smaller perspective. I'm very, very mid-core, but I've found the capacity to farm, my ingenuity. I have a couple of Ventier's gambles. Just doing very menial stuff, not doing like crazy high-end pinnacle bosses and the highest level. Like the way the currency works in this game, you just kind of pick a direction to go in and really commit to it, and that's how you're gonna get all your money essentially. And then from there, you get your character, and you want to do other stuff, you can. You get stronger that way. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Good luck.